Welcome back, everyone. It's here. And today I've got some r/BestOf for you all. As per usual, I'll be reading you the posts, giving you my opinions, and I hope you do the same down in the comments below. And without further ado, let's jump right into it. This post was collected by Direct Caterpillar 77, and their tagline is, of course, Satan is not a pogo stick. The original OP is Tough Volcano, posted to r/relationship advice, May 19th, 2019. Girlfriend and I, 26, male and female, got into a huge fight over a keyboard. I'm thinking about ending things based on her behavior. So, my girlfriend and I, both 26, got into a fight about 2 nights ago, and she's making it seem like I'm being an asshole. We've been dating for about 4.5 months. My girlfriend has a 2013 Lenovo laptop that has seen better days. As it stands right now, among some other issues, her keyboard totally doesn't work. Because of this, she always uses a small Bluetooth keyboard with her laptop. She had texted me the next morning saying that her wireless keyboard had stopped working as well. We had already planned for me to stay the night at her place after I got off work, so I offered to stop by my place on the way to grab her keyboard, as I have a few extras. When I got to her place, she was eagerly awaiting the keyboard, which made sense, as she wasn't able to use her computer for most of the day. But when I handed her the keyboard, she started getting really quiet and pouty. A bit later, when I asked her what was wrong, she said she thought I'd be bringing her something nicer, like the keyboard I have at my desk. The thing is, I have a really nice keyboard at my desk. I'm a programmer, and I love this keyboard so much that I also bring it to work with me. I even have specific macro profiles for it that definitely improve my workflow. For context, I had an extra Amazon Basics keyboard, about $15, lying around, still brand new in the box. My personal keyboard, which I've had for years, is some variant of the Razer Black Widow, around $120. Anyway, she was apparently expecting me to be selfless and let her use my nice keyboard while I used the Amazon keyboard. She was upset that I didn't value her enough to lend her my nice possessions, and left her with the cheap $10 keyboard. Her words. She said if the situation was reversed, she'd lend me the nice keyboard. I explained to her that I have my keyboard specifically set up for work, and because I'm so used to it, it would hinder my ability to do work if I didn't have it. We continued to argue about it. Things really came to a head when she boldly claimed that if I wasn't willing to lend her my nice keyboard, that I should have bought her a nice new keyboard if I really cared about her. This is when... How long have you guys been dating? 4.5 months. We'll talk about that. This is when I got really mad. I told her she was acting like an entitled, spoiled child and that she should have been grateful that I went out of my way in the first place to grab her the Amazon keyboard. She started crying and asked me to go home. I left, but I still gave her the Amazon keyboard to use. I was far more upset at the principle of the situation than the keyboard itself. So now she's calling me an asshole for both not giving her my keyboard and because I called her spoiled. We're going to meet up tomorrow and talk about this in person because I refuse to continue this silly argument over text. I'm thinking about ending things with her, as I feel like this is her showing me her true colors. Too long didn't read, girlfriend's keyboard broke, I lent her one of my extras, and she got upset that it was a cheap keyboard. I called her spoiled, which infuriated her. Relevant comments. Comfy mistake. You are honestly 100% right. She's acting like a spoiled child. Beggars don't get to be choosers. She wants your nice keyboard, she can buy one for herself. Better yet, she can buck up and save up for a new laptop. I don't blame you at all for feeling angry. I feel you should attempt to talk through it before you decide to break up with her, but it is definitely a red flag that she's acting this way. Info girl! I think you got it right when you said she was a spoiled brat. She should have been grateful that you came over with a keyboard, any kind of keyboard. Maybe she should take her own advice and be a little selfless. I would pose a question for you. If you two are fighting over a keyboard, what will happen when an issue that is a bit more serious comes up? Good luck with your talk! I have a feeling you're going to need it. LMKBK comments, never marry someone until you've seen how they act on a really bad day. OP edits, she texted me asking to meet up tonight instead of tomorrow, as she's feeling anxious and stressed about the situation. I will give everyone an update later tonight or tomorrow. I also wanted to clarify that she's never acted like this before. There it is. Although, admittedly, we haven't been together for very long. Some of you suggested that maybe I'm not making her feel valued, and this situation is a symptom of that. While I think I both show and tell her that she's valued in different ways, this may be something I bring up with her. It, of course, doesn't forgive her behavior, but maybe explains some of it. Cheers! Okay, so real quick before we get into the update, I just kind of wanted to explain why I had my little chuckle there. Something that we've stumbled upon and kind of danced around with a lot of other posts, usually involving infidelity, cheaters, or even just relationships going sour quickly, is that when you're in the honeymoon phase of your relationship, you pretend to be a version of yourself that is exactly what the other person wants. You pretend to not be yourself, and eventually, as time goes on, those cracks begin to show. We had a post a few days ago where a guy had felt pretty much head over heels to this girl he found and ended his marriage for her, cheating on his wife, and then realized, like, oh shit, I'm now miserable. So, just kind of after that, did a little bit of a dive. Turns out it's extremely common for the 3-month point to kind of actually be known as the 3-month curse in some circles, where pretty much once you hit that point, and once the relationship, someone gets exactly what they want, they let who they are out. It might start as little things, like getting entitled over expecting your boyfriend to bring you his $120 keyboard to use because you broke your previous one. And the boyfriend, thinking that maybe he didn't value her enough, might make comments like, she's never acted like this before. I also might just be overanalyzing this because, I did a little bit of a personal info dump on this whole thing, and I'm just seeing this just in person, and it's making me chuckle a little bit of the coincidence of timing. Anyways, sorry for that little info research dump that I just threw your direction. I thought that was interesting, and it's been on my mind, and it's just kind of funny that it popped up literally a couple days later. Update, May 20th, 2019, the next day. We met earlier tonight and sat down to talk. I was somewhat prepared to end things with her, so I suggested we meet at her place, so that I could bail if things went south. And they did. Even though I thought I made my post as anonymous as possible, one of my girlfriend's coworkers figured out who the post was about. Girlfriend's age, working HR, which I mentioned in a comment, same computer problems, dating a programmer, etc., and send it to my girlfriend. The reason she wanted to meet early was because she was furious that I had made the post, airing our dirty laundry, in a sense. I guess she was right because at least one person had figured it out. My girlfriend never used Reddit, so I figured I was safe. There's a strong chance she'll read this one as well, lol. Anyway, she immediately began berating me, telling me that I made her look bad in the post and lied about the details of our argument to get people on my side. I asked her to point out any part of it that wasn't true, or where I had lied. Long story short, she couldn't point to a single thing. I definitely raised my voice when I told her that if she looked bad, it's only because of her actions. I told her I only made my post to get some perspective on the matter. The post was 100% accurate, and she knew it. She began to tear up and asked me if I was really considering leaving her over the keyboard. I asked her if she understood that this wasn't about the keyboard, it was about the way she acted towards me when I was trying to do her a favor. She stayed silent and didn't answer. I asked her what had prompted this outburst, if everything was okay with her. I asked her if anything had happened with her friends, parents, or at work that was upsetting her and may have led to this. She got really defensive, asking, "Are you calling me crazy?" And, "Do you think I'm unstable?" I had no idea where she was going with this. I told her I wasn't calling her crazy, but that she had to understand that I was quite confused about how she was acting, and that there had to be a reason for it. We talked in circles for a bit, and I tried to pry it out of her. I still don't know what caused all of this because she simply wouldn't tell me. When I realized our conversation was going nowhere, I finally asked her if we were ready to have an adult conversation, or if this was the hill she was willing to let the relationship die on. "What do you want from me?" And I said, "I want an apology." I'm getting tired of typing, so I'll wrap this up quickly. She was absolutely unwilling to apologize. She thought that my betrayal of posting about this was far worse than her initial behavior was. We talked for about 5 more minutes before I told her that I don't even care anymore. I told her this whole thing was exhausting, as she wasn't willing to help us get to the bottom of this, that we should just break up. I didn't waste any time making my way to the door. As I was leaving, she asked if I wanted the keyboard back. She didn't ask to be nice. She was definitely trying to get on my nerves. I could tell by her tone of voice. I told her she could keep it as long as she promised never to call or text me again. I've been getting tons of not-so-nice messages from her friends, which finally prompted me to delete my Facebook. She obviously told her friends some false versions of the story, which made it seem like I really did leave her over the keyboard. I couldn't care less, as I'll never be seeing any of them again. We only dated for about 4 months, so in the end, I don't feel terribly heartbroken. Mostly just relief that it's over, but also confusion. Still have no idea why she acted out. Too long didn't read, she wouldn't apologize or tell me what was wrong. After an exhausting conversation, I decided to end it. And to the people who had some unkind words towards me because I use a Razer keyboard, pound sand, dorks! I like what I like! Personally, I'm a Logitech guy, but that's just me. I hate their software, though. Very short edit. She called me earlier today and was very apologetic. My assumption is that she saw this post and read all the comments detailing how I was right for leaving her. Among other things, I told her that she had her chance to apologize. Top comment: oceans of umbrellas. I saw a comment on Reddit a while back that asked why so many relationships fail at approximately the 3-month point. Let's go. And someone, no, I'm not going to spend 20 plus minutes Googling to give credit to the person, replied that they'd once been told it was because it was really hard for people to continue pretending to be someone they weren't for much longer than 3 months. I think maybe this applies to your situation. Well, it's good to know that my entire tangent, roughly about 5 minutes ago, was entirely unnecessary, but hey, at least I don't feel ridiculous anymore for going on it. Now, if I'm just gonna go and, grab a couple of wads of paper and soak them in water and throw them at the wall to see what sticks here, I feel like maybe the girlfriend was dipping her toes into the water just to see how far she could begin to push buttons to see where she could go. Pushing buttons of, well, my keyboard broke, maybe my boyfriend will give me one of his really expensive ones and I'll have a really nice keyboard to have instead. Then when the boyfriend shows up with the $15 Amazon Basics, the thing that she had hyped herself up for having a really expensive keyboard, didn't pan out, hence being pouty. Then when she tried confronting and then, oh well, maybe if I just directly ask for it, I'll get what I want. Boyfriend says no, says he uses it for work, and then she's now left with the mental thing of, he only values me at $15 for an Amazon Basics keyboard? And then cue everything we saw. Honestly though, judging by how OP's girlfriend reacted and how her friends reacted with harassing him to essentially delete his Facebook, I get the feeling that OP's previous ex never actually left high school, and they still have that mentality attached to them. Something also tells me that their friends may have even put them up to this and said, ooh, you could definitely test his loyalty in the relationship and see if he gets you something nice. And then when he didn't, now she's hearing all her friends' words in her head of, he doesn't value the relationship. I don't know, I might be a little bit all over the place here because this is just such an interesting scenario, and it makes a lot of the gears in my brain turn. I have so many unanswered questions and I want to keep clawing at it like a little mole, but unfortunately there's nowhere to dig. So instead I'm left like a possum in a dumpster searching for scraps and trying to find anything that I possibly can to make value out of. This post was collected by Direct Caterpillar 77, and their tagline is, Satan is not a pogo stick. The original OP is Throw RA WTF Man, posted to r/relationship advice February 24th, 2020. My, 24 female, boyfriend, 31 male, got trashed at a wedding where I was the maid of honor, embarrassed me and himself, and proceeded to lie about some things too. About a year and a half ago, my best friend became engaged to her now husband. I was asked to be the maid of honor and was extremely happy to do so. Over the past year, I helped her with whatever needed to be done. Throughout all of this, I talked to my boyfriend about it. He knew how happy I was for her. He knew that I had a big part in the wedding. He knew my parents would be attending the wedding. He knew everything that I knew about the wedding. He knew the day and time and what would be expected of him and when he needed to show up. For what it's worth, I didn't talk his ear off about the wedding. I would only really talk about it if I had gone, for example, dress shopping or something with my friend. However, last week, a couple of days before the wedding, he started to act kind of weird about it. He said something along the lines of, "I know you don't want to be involved in the wedding. It will be over soon, and then you can forget all about it and everything will be normal again." I've been nothing but happy and excited for my friend in this wedding, but he continued to act like I wasn't having fun and tried to convince me that I hated every minute of helping my friend plan her wedding. Last week, he continued talking about the wedding like it was something awful and stupid. He treated it as annoying chores we had to do. He complained about having to go. He even asked me after the rehearsal dinner if he could just not go to the wedding at all. Keep in mind, I had already RSVP'd for both of us. My parents were expecting him. He just dropped that on me as we were going to bed before the wedding day. He also never expressed his congratulations towards the bride or groom at any point. The day of the wedding was this past Saturday. I told my boyfriend what time he needed to show up. Lately, he has been notoriously late for everything, like several hours late to anything he's invited to. He's always been late, but it's been getting ridiculous. A lot of the times he's late because he's hanging out with friends, smoking weed and playing video games, and he ends up losing track of time. I didn't want him to be late to my best friend's wedding, so I basically told him he needed to be there 3 hours earlier than what was necessary. I told him he needed to be there at 1 p.m. when in reality he needed to be there at 4:30 p.m. He showed up around 4:30 p.m. He got there right as cocktail hour started and got drunk. I was told by someone else that he was pounding back the beers as soon as the bartenders started to serve alcohol. Then, he sat with my parents and told my mom, "If I didn't come to this thing, OP would have killed me." Once the bride and groom were announced, Mr. and Mrs. X, my boyfriend loudly cheered and loudly clapped as everyone else did a normal clap. It wasn't a very big wedding, so it was weird and awkward when he did this. It stood out a lot, and it was obvious that he was already inebriated. Multiple people looked over at him in a "what the fuck" way. I felt awful and embarrassed when this happened. After all the photos were taken, he found me and told me that his work called and that he needed to go in ASAP. Before the wedding, he assured me that he had taken the day off and that his work, he's a bartender, knew he would be at a wedding that day. I knew he was lying to me, but I didn't care at that point. He left, Ubered, to supposedly go to work. When I finally got home around 2 a.m., he told me that it turned out that work didn't actually need him, and he forgot the name of the venue, so he couldn't Uber back to it, and that his phone was acting weird and couldn't get a text message to be sent to me. He told me how he really wanted to come back to the reception, but he just couldn't make it happen. Obviously, those were all lies. I feel like his behavior was just abhorrent. I'm so pissed off at him right now. I'm looking at him in a new negative light, and I can't stop thinking about how awful he was throughout this whole wedding event. I know some people act weird about weddings sometimes, but this takes the fucking cake. Is there any coming back from this? I feel like I'm always going to be pissed off about what happened. I don't know if I can forgive him. I've thought about ending it with him because of this. I don't know if I'm overreacting or not. I don't think he has any intentions on apologizing. We haven't talked about the wedding that much since this past Saturday. He doesn't think he's done anything wrong. What do I do? Am I crazy to think his actions are god-awful? Relevant comments. Deleted user. Girl, he sounds like a toddler. You're a girlfriend, not a mother. Why are you putting up with this? OP responds. Honestly, I don't know. We've been together for about 4 years now, and he wasn't always this bad. But I've noticed his behavior has gone downhill over the past year. He's cut back hours on work and makes just enough money to make ends meet. He just wants to hang out with his friends who don't have jobs. He smokes for free with them. I think this may be the last straw though. I'm going to have to end it with him. It just sucks because he wasn't always this bad. Deleted user responding, consider that he was always like this, but you're growing up and maturing, whereas he hasn't. 4 years puts you guys at 27 and 20. Might be that you just didn't notice because you had different priorities. OP responds, this is a strong possibility. When we met, I was in college, and like a lot of college students, I went out and partied a lot. I had fun and stayed up super late, but now I'm working full-time and going to grad school part-time. I want to be successful in the future. He has basically stayed the same these past 4 years. He always talked about going back to school and finishing his degree or doing something else with his life. He just hasn't done anything with himself. I don't think I really saw that or cared when we met and I was only 20. User Small Sacrifice comments, how long have you been dating? Have you two discussed marriage? His behavior was horrendous. I don't know if I would forgive it. My guess is that he saw you all happy about the wedding, doesn't want to commit, got scared you would now expect a proposal, and deliberately sabotaged everything because he's a giant immature douche canoe. OP responds, we've been together for about 4 years. We have talked about marriage. He has brought up in the past and mentioned that it would be great if we got married one day. I've told him I want to wait until after I finish grad school and we moved into a house first. However, I'm rethinking our entire relationship now. After reading a few responses here, I feel like I probably won't be able to forgive him after this. User IOC comments, what is the benefit of staying with this guy? He sounds awful. I was really surprised to see that he is my age and not also in his early 20s. My boyfriend hates weddings and big parties and a lot of traditions, LOL, but he just lets me know. He has GAD, so I get it. Generalized anxiety disorder. We have agreements about which ones are mandatory and which ones he can skip. He doesn't pull weird manipulations like this. I don't think I could be with someone who jerked me around and lied like that. And he's 31 years old. That is too old for this shit, in my opinion. How do you guys even communicate mutual affection and respect? My advice is to cut your losses. It will hurt, but I bet you will feel relieved after a while of not having this anchor around your neck. Find someone worth it. OP responds, this was the first time he pulled this much shit to get out of an obligation. Before now, he's been okay going with me to various friends or family events. This also wasn't our first wedding together either. His aunt got remarried last year, and he didn't freak out then. In the past, he's told me straight up if he didn't want to go to one of my friends' parties or something, and he stayed at home, and it was fine. I think the difference here was the fact that you were the maid of honor, and part of the event was actually involving you directly and not just his aunt. And additionally, you were excited for it, and this was something he couldn't just weasel out of by saying he didn't want to go to because there was also the familial expectation of them being there. Edit. I did not expect this to blow up like it did. I was wanting to create a throwaway account so my post wouldn't be that noticeable. Oh well, my boyfriend uses Reddit, but I don't think he goes to the relationship subreddits at all. Anyway, I've tried most of the comments here, and I've been thinking about what you all have said. It's basically confirmed that I need to end things with him. I actually tried to end things with him a couple of hours ago. He doesn't seem to be accepting the breakup. He started to apologize to me about what happened and how he'll try to be better. I'm currently at a friend's house for the night. I brought some things with me that should last a couple of days, but I'm really not sure what else to do. Both of our names are on the lease, and he's still at the apartment for all I know. Thank you all for the help. Reading through the comments basically told me everything I already knew and confirmed for me that I need to dump his ass. I'll try to post an update in a couple of days. As of now, he doesn't seem to want to leave the apartment, so we'll see what happens. Update, March 6th, 2020, 9 days later. It's like a week or two before lockdown started, good God. First, thank you to everyone who commented on my last post. It gave me a lot to think about and confirmed things for me that I wasn't ready to admit to myself. Second, there were some frequent comments about my ex I wanted to clear up. Some people thought he had anxiety around weddings or people he didn't know. He knew the bride and groom very well, as we used to go out on double dates a lot. He's even spent some one-on-one time with the groom. He knew a lot of other people at the wedding. He only sat with my parents because my parents didn't really know anyone else besides the bride and a couple of my other friends, who were bridesmaids or were part of the wedding in some way. He's also a social butterfly and has been to more weddings than me. He's even gone solo to a couple of weddings he was invited to, no plus one, for former coworkers while we were together. Many people suggested he had a crush on the bride. I can't confirm this, but I'm leaning towards no. It's possible, of course. Doesn't matter at this point. All I can really say is that they are complete opposites, have very little in common, and he would consider her not his type. This is not an insult to the bride. She is a beautiful person for what it's worth. And I am considered his type. Again, he may have had feelings for her, but if he did, I never picked up on it. After I initially tried to end it with him, he texted/called/DM'd me and basically used any means of communication possible to get my attention. He started by apologizing profusely and asking to give him another chance. I didn't respond to all of this because I didn't know what to say. I turned off my phone before I went to sleep and woke up with a fuck ton of voicemail and messages. He sounded extremely angry in some of them, called me names, told me he hated me, said the classic line of, "You'll never do better than me." So super quickly, I hate to butt in, but this is, I feel, important. If you're ever breaking up with someone and they tell you, "You'll never do better than me," that's not the truth. That's them projecting because they're afraid that they'll never do better than you. So never take those words to heart. Some of the last messages he sent were him apologizing for the messages he left throughout the night because he was drunk and that it didn't count. Whatever. The apartment issue has been a nightmare. It's going to be extremely expensive to get out of the lease and only have his name on it. Apparently, they need both of our signatures in order for this to happen, and I'll need to pay a fee. The only communication I've had with my ex is to ask him to sign the new lease agreement, which he refuses to do. I still had to pay rent for March. The lease isn't up for several months. I can't afford to pay 2 rents at once. I did manage to get my stuff out. I called at the bar he works for and talked to one of the women there I felt comfortable with. I told her my situation and asked if she could call me the next time he showed up for his shift so I could get my things. I had a bunch of my friends come to the apartment with boxes and plastic tubs and got most of my stuff. Unfortunately, my TV, it's huge, sofa, and a couple of other larger things couldn't be grabbed. But I got everything important. When he found out I took all of my stuff, the text messages and voicemail began again, where he spewed more vitriol at me and demanding me to come home immediately. Next, he started sending me apology messages and also told me in a message that he's willing to forgive me and move on from this mess. My current challenges are trying to find a place to live for the next few months and what to do about the current lease with both our names. I have friends that understand my situation and are allowing me to couch surf for a bit, but it's not a permanent solution. I'm still trying to figure out how to get out of this lease, but the apartment management has been difficult. I'm not totally convinced that they need both signatures, but that's what they keep stressing. The worst case scenario is that I have to quit my job and live with my parents for a bit. They're an hour away. And drive an hour to class a few times a week until the semester is over. Too long didn't read, we're broken up, and I'm feeling great about this decision. Apartment management sucks, and I can't get my name off the lease. Some of my stuff is still in the apartment, but I got the important stuff out. X keeps messaging me, he's either being a dick or apologizing. Crazy enough, depending on the timing, the pandemic could have either been a blessing or a complete curse. Because it really could go either way. With the pandemic happening and, essentially online learning becoming the norm, that would have been the perfect solution for the whole having to drive an hour to class thing, and actually could have really come in handy. So it's so ominous that it's just like, your entire life in 2 weeks is about to be entirely different, even more than it already is with you breaking up with your boyfriend after a travesty of a wedding. Like, the timing could not have been any more of oh god, oh fuck. Also, it's actually kind of really interesting, and I didn't plan for this, but we had a post where a relationship ended because after 3 months, the two people drifted apart because they were pretending to be someone they were not. In this scenario, the two people drifted apart because one person matured while the other remained stagnant. So it's not that they were pretending to be someone they weren't, they evolved and grew into someone they would become and became no longer compatible. It's just, the parallels are unprecedented, and it was entirely by accident. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm going to go gift a $15 Amazon Basics keyboard to someone as a wedding gift. Thank you very much. Don't forget, this is brought to you by GamerSupps. Use code ODDS at checkout. It's basically a caffeine powder that you put in your water, and I actually really like it. I use this on a daily basis. Don't forget that every purchase you make using code ODDS directly supports the channel. And if you want a personal recommendation from me, I would either recommend the Soda Pressing Pear or Dragon Fruit Punch. Those two are currently my favorite flavors. And as a note, once we sell a certain amount of stuff, I get my own flavor and my own cup, and you all know I'm gonna choose some degenerate shit that's gonna make their PR team squirm. My goal is to make them regret partnering with me. So please, use code ODDS at checkout to make my dream come true of making a PR team squirm.